Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison, and I want to welcome you to day 186 of Humanity Rising. Humanity Rising is an initiative of Ubiquity University and over 300 partnering organizations from around the world that came together last spring, launched in May, and on a daily basis have been providing an open space for people worldwide to come together through this extraordinary pandemic we're all collectively experiencing together as a avenue for sharing, for solutions, for visions, for just being in community together through Zoom and through our live streaming partners so that we can take counsel as to how we can make the world more abundant and resilient, regenerative, and in alignment with natural systems. It's clear to all of us that what the scientists are saying is in fact true, that we're running out of time for humanity to rectify itself, not only in relationship with each other, but in relationship with the larger ecology. And all the organizations that have joined together in a spirit of radical collaboration through Humanity Rising are similarly motivated and working day by day, week by week, month by month for a better world. So we're very grateful for the partnerships that have come together through this initiative. Let us begin, as we always do, with just taking just a minute or two to just collect ourselves, take a few deep breaths, close your eyes, and place your attention on your heart. See if you can listen to your heartbeat for just about a minute in a spirit of gratitude and thanksgiving that you're alive. We're all alive at this extraordinary moment in the human journey. Thank you, everyone. Now, with an open heart and a heart full of gratitude for each and every one of you who are participating in this session, I want to commence our program by just noting that we've covered virtually every area. We've done a lot of sessions on economics, on ecology, on public health, on politics, culture, religion, spirituality. And one of the consistent themes that we've tried to accentuate over the months that Humanity Rising has been broadcasting is the power of art. Very few aspects of human expression have been more durable and more universal than artistic expression. There's something about us humans that resonates with beauty. And it is said by anthropologists that poetry and before poetry, music was the first language of humans. It was only later that we got to prose, and much, much later that we got to writing. But music has been with us from the very beginning, from the first time someone beat a drum or blew a conch shell or hit two sticks together. Rhythm and artistic expression has been an indelible part of the human journey. Just think for a moment at the cave paintings in France or Spain and Germany and around the world that go back 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years as one of the first expressions of our humanness. We're now in a world in crisis. So we want to look at what is art, what is music in a world that is burning, and how can music both inspire us in our current predicament, but also guide us by providing a vision for the human future, that we can orient our present activities and practices in a way that shapes the kind of future that all of us know we need to ensure human survival. So I would like to welcome my good friend and partner, Peter Merry, who's the Chief Innovation Officer of Ubiquity and was one of the co-creators of Humanity Rising, actually thought of the name Humanity Rising. So Peter, welcome. I turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Jim. Great to be back. And just to qualify that last statement a bit, and it does kind of link to this theme of music. When we said I thought up Humanity Rising, not entirely true in the sense that it kind of dropped in, as it were, it kind of came through me. So I wouldn't dare to claim I thought it up, but let's say I was able to create the conditions anyway in which it could kind of drop in. And feels to me that that's pretty close to what we're talking about today, really, the creative process and the creative expression with Luke Concannon. So Luke, feel free to turn your video and mic on again. Great to have you with us. I'm so excited about today. I've been thinking since the beginning of Humanity Rising, wouldn't it be great to have some music on Humanity Rising? And I was like, who could do that? And immediately, of course, I thought of you. And I've known Luke for a while. And the thing that has really, I guess, always impressed me since the moment I met him was, apart from he's got his authenticity, integrity, and great big heart, has been like how he's carried both a knowing of what's going on in the world and a deep feeling of the challenges of that, together with a real commitment to walk the path that he's called to walk around being a musician, singer, and songwriter. And then how do you combine those two, right? As a singer and songwriter in the world today, how do you live with what you know is going on in the world? And we both have a shared friend called Alistair McIntosh, who has mentored both of us over the years and has a deep and profound and extremely disturbing understanding of how the state of the world today, but also inspiring. And so what Luke and I kind of, when we were talking about this, thought would be a good way to approach this was really to kind of walk through Luke's journey as a singer, songwriter, in the context of this kind of world that we're in today, and for have him tell that story. And as we go along, to illustrate that story with some of the songs that have come through him at different stages of the journey. And so Luke, welcome to Humanity Rising.
Thank you so much for having me here. Hi, everybody. It's great to see this list of folk. I wish I could see everyone's faces, but to know that there's many of us here together. And yeah, I feel like excited and nervous to be on this path, right? Singing in a burning world. It's like, that seems to be at the crux of my life, right? Art and just being aware of the art is about we shall overcome. Like that's the center of it, right? Then maybe that's what the human journey is. We shall overcome. And what a responsibility to talk about it. So I hope we can have fun and I don't take myself too seriously.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. But so Luke, tell us a little bit. How did you end up on this path? Like when did you kind of discover, as it were, that music was your path?
So it's good to see people in the chat as well saying hi. Yeah. There's like Shannon and Jen and Catherine and Ruth. So music, I at school I didn't really fit in at all, right? The teachers would get really frustrated with me because I only really wanted to draw or talk to people or dream. And so and being a dyslexic, I didn't fit in. But creativity was very natural for me, and imagination was. And so I remember my dad picking me up in the school playground there in Whitnash, just down the road from where you grew up, Pete, in Warwickshire, England. And my dad pulled out an Irish penny whistle. I was 6 years old, and he was picking me up from school, and we were walking out of the playground, and he played a tune. There you go. There you go. He played a tune called "The Lonesome Boatman," which is it's like da 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 da. Da, 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 da. It has that quality of being at sea alone, and I was just so amazed that this was the best magic trick ever, right? That my dad could pull out this piece of metal and make music. And so when you asked me like when did I start on this journey, I think of moments like that of just loving creating and imagining and then being so enchanted by music. And Dad said I used to sing myself to sleep as a child, like before I could talk. So there's something, we are born with certain sets of limitations and gifts, right? And then what do we do with them?
Yeah. So as a kid, you kind of intrinsically, as it were, that was emerging. And when did you kind of step into, okay, I'm going to do this like professionally, I'm going to go around and sing to people, and was that challenge of actually, I'm singing a little folk band myself, but it took me a while. Actually, you actually really helped me on that path, the courage to actually stand up and sing, and to let your voice come out. How did that emerge for you, and just a little bit of the journey to getting on stage, as it were?
Right. Because it's probably true that all of us want to sing, or most of us want to sing, right? And yet often it's so terrifying to expose ourselves.
Luke, just one thing. Rick has said, could you stand back a little bit from the mic, because we're getting
a
little bit. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, Rick. So so as a child in our Anglo-Irish family parties, my nan from the County Kerry, who grew up barefoot, speaking Gaelic, eating the fish her dad caught in the west of Ireland there, where Kerry is an Irish-speaking region, the Dingle Peninsula where she's from, and she would ask me to sing ballads as a child at family parties, and it was this thing that the kids put on plays or songs. And so I, from an early age, was getting used to singing in front of people, and that it was a sense of peoplehood. these ballads express a sense of identity, history. I would be singing Dublin in the rare old times, and there would be a lot of lager being drunk and cigarettes being smoked and stuff, in the 80s. And there was a sense of peoplehood, of pride. Like, isn't it great that our kids are carrying on this music? And I'd be fed chocolate cake. So I think I was programmed to sing in front of people, and that it was a positive thing. That although it was nerve-wracking, I would be accepted and loved for it. In a pub in Ireland, if you sing a ballad, often within the first couple of lines, even if you're singing like, someone will go, "Lovely, Michael, lovely." There's this affirmation of singing in folk culture, that it's something that we do and we should be encouraged. So I had that. And then as a teenager at school, I was the only guy who was willing to sing, because there's something about masculinity, like, blokes don't sing, it's for girls or something when you're a teenage boy, or at least in my culture it was like that. But I'd sung all my life, so I was willing to sing. And we went to this radical, like, liberal Catholic school where we didn't wear uniforms. We called the teachers by their first names. I think it was coming out of that Vatican II kind of mentality, liberation theology. It was a state school, but they encouraged us to put on gigs. So I think without that kind of encouragement of family and then a society, school, I wouldn't have been doing this. It needed love and an affirmation and community to make music happen, right?
Yeah, amazing. I've been in the pubs in Ireland when somebody will just start singing and everyone just shuts up, and this person sings and then everyone goes back to talking, and it's just this beautiful respect for music. So growing up in that kind of culture that's so affirmative of that make a big difference. Yeah. So when did you actually, Joe, did you want to comment on that?
I'm loving just like you highlighting that, because what comes up in me is it's like a moment of meditation in a culture that doesn't necessarily broadly practice meditation. But when someone sings an unaccompanied ballad, when somebody goes, I wish I was in Carrickfergus, and everyone quiets down and listens. People could be really drunk or in an argument or whatever, but they quiet down and focus intently, reverently on a song. It is like it is a spiritual thing.
Yeah, lovely way to think about it. And so so you were singing a lot of the ballads and the kind of well-known stuff and things, and when did you write your first song? And can you remember what it was?
These are lovely questions. I remember writing poems, but I think my first song, I was about 9 or something, and I took the melody of da 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 da, that one, and I just wrote some kind of gibberish came to me, like, life is a melody hit. So yeah, and so that started happening. And then at school in this band while we were playing gigs, at 13 my best friend and I started writing songs. John Parker from Nisloppy.
John. Oh, well, tell us the story of Nisloppy then, and how Nisloppy came together and your trip there, because that's great.
Sure. So, I, at this school, this funky school with the great music department and arts department, the teacher said, we want you to play a concert, an after-school concert for like 150 people. And it's in 2 weeks' time, so you need to form a band. And we were 13, and this was pretty nerve-wracking, but a few of us were up for it. And we formed a band and sang a Metallica song and a Guns N' Roses song. And and one of the people in that band was this long-haired, extremely enthusiastic 13-year-old guy, John Parker. And he was so into it on stage, like he had his foot up on the speakers and was head banging his long hair around. He was so into it. The rest of us were all like teenagers, like, he was so passionate. And yeah, he and I started to write together and became best friends, and would have long evenings of him playing one riff for like 3 hours. You know, he would be going like, so he would just keep doing that round and round for 3 hours. And I would be really shy, and I'd be trying to think of ideas, and it would seem it would take forever. But then slowly, by listening, I mean, maybe if you're at home, if you listen, you might hear some ideas too, you know. And so after 3 hours, we would have a song, and we would take it to a cafe or an open mic, and it slowly took hold of us. It's like anything, it's a gradual growing, but the magic, it's magic of participating in music and being co-creators with life is so beautiful. It's so extraordinary that we just got more and more into it and realized that actually that was what we wanted to do with our lives.
And then, yeah. And then, okay, let's just pause on the Nizlopi just for one moment before we come back, because then, when we'll get to JCB. But when I met you, it was with, I can't remember the guy's name, but you were doing kind of interactive music workshops, like with drums and stuff. And you've always, whenever you've done gigs, you always like to really engage people. And that must be one of the hardest things about doing things virtually like this. But tell me a little bit about that, because people, whenever they talk about, you see reviews of your concerts or gigs as Nizlopi or yourself, they're always about how engaging you are. You don't just like to stand there and perform like behind a wall, but somehow that's really important to you, right? That connection.
Thank you. Yeah. It was amazing to be. I studied in Brighton. I studied English literature in Sussex University, and Brighton is kind of like the San Francisco of Britain. It's where we have our one Green MP consistently voted in, and so there's a culture there that is a lot more progressive than pretty much anywhere else in England. And so, yeah, I got involved in community music. And it was radical. Like, I got to meet you through that, Pete, and this this field, this edge of people who want to go beyond our paradigm. They want to subvert or transform the paradigm that we live in. And one way of doing that is to say it's not about us experts on stage and you consumers in the audience. We're actually all in this together. This is all one thing. And how can we embody that rather than the illusion that some people are consumers and other people are producers? How can we actually be in the music together and in the spirit and hopefully be transformed by it? At the beginning of a gig, often people are stressed, including myself. And by the end of the evening, people can be feeling like joy and inspiration and light, So that's the hope, that through participation in the spirit that's in music, we can transform. And it's such a tension for me, because I feel like slightly guilty now that I'm a white guy on stage talking to people. Do you know what I mean? It's like I'm always in this tension between how can we be in it, and then also sometimes owning the fact that sometimes we do teach, right? Sometimes we share, and that's okay. But I'm super excited by that Augusto Boal thing of the story is not told yet. We make the story together, and we can all create it. And I'm excited. That's my hope for a next album, actually, is to make one where it can be changed by the participants. But anyway.
But no, I mean, they were really powerful sessions. You know, people, you'd have like, 30, 40 people in a room. I experienced them with you, all of whom were kind of really pretty nervous about singing. And then 5-10 minutes, into this workshop, you had them all singing different parts. And it actually sounded pretty good as well. But it was such a, so many people said it was such a liberation. Because like you said, when we were talking to Jim earlier, and Jim said, oh, I'm tone deaf or I can't sing. He said, it's really a voice in our head that or someone has told you at some point you can't sing, but it's there in everybody. And that was such a release for people at many levels. I think when we saw that happen in those workshops, really beautiful process.
Thank you. Yeah, that inspires me it encourages me to do more. I love Jim's intro talking about how music is so primary to us.
Yeah.
And it is just in us there to sing. Yeah.
Well, tell us the story of how this then actually became your way of earning a living in the end as well. Your whole take us through beginnings of Nizlopi up to JCB song, and then we'll share JCB.
Okay, so I was in Brighton as a young community musician doing music workshops in special needs schools, at peace conferences in Slovenia with Pete, in youth centres in South London. That was all really inspiring, actually, because I got to hear garage, the origins of grime. Like artists like Stormzy and Dizzy Rascal come out of that culture. So being a community musician is a two-way street, right? I would be offering things and they'd be offering things back to me. And I just realized that for me, it wasn't enough to just host other people in music making. I really needed to make some music myself. They say so many of us, it's a tragic saying, many people die with their music still inside of them. And John and I had this connection, and we wanted to get the music out. So we, at 21 or 22, we moved back into our family homes in the Midlands, and we recorded an album. And in the meantime, we'd play live as much as we could, and we'd sleep on friends' floors in London and play an open mic each night. And we started to grow an audience and record music and share music. And my parents were very supportive. They formed a record label. My cousin did the online marketing. A kid from down the street would post the CDs out. So we were a cottage industry. And somehow after sort of 4 years of doing that actually, we had a runaway hit song. After just writing, recording, going and playing in people's living rooms or on stages, our community had grown enough that this song, the JCB song, somehow took off and outsold Eminem and Diana Ross and everybody else, Madonna that week, and was the biggest selling song in the UK in 2005, December 2005. And so in a way, it's like, so what? Who cares about numbers? But what is heartening for me is that we were like your local greengrocer who were doing something we loved. And somehow that week we sold more than like all of the Lidl in the country. It's that kind of comparison. Like somehow it broke through, because art has a capacity to find a way through.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing. I remember it because we were there and like, oh, Luke's single, it's in the chart. Oh, it's at #1. Oh, it's nearly Christmas. And so we were all kind of rushing out, buying this album and giving it to everybody and for Christmas, like, yeah. And then and ultimately the Christmas #1, it was like, I don't know, what was it? Like the X Factor or something like that. Or what is it?
Yeah.
Winner who got there, but it was an amazing experience. And the thing is, I was watching the video again the other day, but I was reading the comments on YouTube of the video, and they're so touching. Like, people get so moved by this song. So anyway, well, not keep people on tenterhooks anymore. Let's Rick, can you cue up the JCB song? And everybody, it is normal that it's quiet a bit at the beginning, and then it kind of kicks off.
Thank you. Well, I'm rumbling in this JCB. I'm 5 years old, my dad's a giant sitting beside me, and the engine rattles my bum like berserk while we're singing, don't forget your shovel if you want to go and work. My dad's probably had a bloody hard day, but he's been good fun and bubbling and joking way. And the procession of cars stuck behind are getting all impatient and angry, but we don't mind. We're holding up the bypass. Oh, me and my dad having a top laugh. Oh, sitting on the toolbox. Oh, and I'm so glad I'm not in school, boss. So glad I'm not in school. Oh no. And we pull over, let cars pass, and pull off again, speeding by this summer green grass. And we're like giants up here in our big yellow digger, like Zoids or Transformers, or maybe even bigger. And I want to transform into a Tyrannosaurus Rex and eat up all the bullies and the teachers and their pets. And I'll tell all my mates my dad's B.A. Baracus, only with a JCB and Bruce Lee's nunchuckers. And we're holding up the bypass. Oh, me and my dad having a top laugh. Oh, sitting on the toolbox. Oh, and I'm so glad I'm not in school, boss. So glad I'm not in school. And we're holding up the bypass. Oh, me and my dad having a top laugh. Oh, I'm sitting on the toolbox. Oh, and I'm so glad I'm not in school, boss. So glad I'm not in school. Said I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB. I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB. I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB. I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round and we're holding up the bypass. Whoa, and me and my dad having a top laugh. Oh, whoa. And I'm sitting on the toolbox. Oh, and I'm so glad I'm not in school, boss. So glad I'm not in school. I said I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB. I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his... I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB. I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB.
There we go. I still love it. I've heard it so many times. And yeah, those kind of comments are amazing. Like so many people, particularly men actually, and their relationships with their fathers. It's amazing how it's touched people. I mean, what do you think happened? Like, why did suddenly this song kind of get to the top of the charts? From what people have said to you, what was going on?
Yeah, I still don't know fully. There's so many different things. But what comes to mind is that you have to have a load of things working for a system to function, right? So we were playing live. So we had a community. We were touring the country all the time, playing for people. So there were people we had real connection with. And then everyone's got a childhood, right? So if you talk about childhood stories, it touches something really deep in our hearts. We also had a team. There was a press person, like taking this story to people. So we had all the different elements, and then sometimes magic happens. So I think that's how it kind of connected. But what's so funny is that the song is a first draft. The lyrics were all in the very first draft I wrote. And I wrote it in sort of 2 hours when I was a 22-year-old who could barely play the guitar. So it really makes me feel something about how music is there already, and sometimes we're lucky enough for it to come through us, like you said about the name Humanity Rising. It's occasionally we conduct the lightning, and so that song belongs to everybody, right? It's not my song. It's just the story of being with Dad. Yeah.
So what did that do with your career, your life, your next steps? And I think it was, and as your awareness was growing about the state of the world and what was happening, how did you manage that? Let's say, well, tell us a bit about your experience of, okay, so now I'm like recognized musician and I'm becoming aware of this pretty serious state of the world. Tell us a bit about that.
I'm feeling really happy to share this stuff with you because it's really important to me, and it's interesting that this kind of dialogue doesn't happen often, right? In the music business, it tends to be like a 5-minute interview that's about a very specific thing. This is exciting in scope. So, what happened really was that, at the age of 22, writing that song, as young men, we would have had a band like U2 as our heroes, right? Like, a brilliant band who write great songs and also, have like an activist mission. Great, pop stars, that sort of thing. And then over those years between writing that song, 22-ish, to 26, when it took off, more nuance had come in. My heroes, heroines, Ani DeFranco, who set up her own record label, Righteous Babe Records, and is totally in that bardic tradition of speaking truth to power, of not selling out to the man. Rory McLeod, another big hero of mine. These folk artists that embody the folk tradition of Woody Guthrie and Lead Belly and Billie Holiday. And so actually it was kind of complex to be thrown into the middle of the mainstream. It was kind of incongruous because artists that want to speak truth to power are generally on the edge. And so it was kind of strange to suddenly be on Richard and Judy or, primetime television, where the conversation is very much a very limited, it's like, what's your favorite pizza? And then, they cut to a story about the royal family or whatever. And so it was sort of incongruous and kind of difficult to deal with. And it was difficult that we went from playing a gig for £200 that was very meaningful, that was full of community and spirit and leaning into trying to really tell the truth and raise consciousness, to go from that to suddenly being like, well, the team, the publisher and the team say we have to have a follow-up single out within 2 months, and it needs to have a really professional video. So the budget for the video needs to be £30,000. And, a year before I'd been making like £4,000 a year. And so it's very, very confusing. It's very confusing to go from the underground world of folk to the insider world of pop music. It was very bewildering.
And tell us a bit about, so at some point you must have had to make a choice, really. So what am we going to do here? Am I kind of going to go that route or not? Tell us a bit about that and how you came to that, your decision. Or did it just unfold, or was there a real moment of conscious choosing?
So the moment that comes to mind is that, this song was a hit in 2005. So we were 2 years into the Iraq War. And we got a live slot on the biggest music TV show in British history, Top of the Pops. As kids growing up in Britain, every Friday night, everyone would gather around and watch Top of the Pops. And it's basically performances from the people who are in the charts that week. And, legendary stuff. Morrissey's first performance with the Smiths or whoever, but David Bowie, etc. And we had a live performance to 5 million viewers at home. And about 20 minutes before we went on, I had this strong, what Quakers would call a leading, a strong urge that I needed to use this moment for consciousness raising, for activism, that I needed to just basically say, bring our troops home, no more blood for oil, follow your heart, don't follow the lies that we're receiving in the media, to basically rant. And it was a really strong feeling, the sort of feeling you get when you fall in love or when you feel called on a journey to discover something new. And then, of course, what happens after a call is there's the fear of the call as well. And I was just really frightened that if I did go off on a rant about these things, I would torpedo everyone around my family's careers. Like, my dad was working full time on this. My best friend, we'd all been doing like 14-hour days for years. And if I go off on this rant, we're going to be cut from the air, right? Like Sinead O'Connor, she was too dangerous to go on live, whatever. So I didn't do it, and I've always regretted it. But it was part of a process of wanting to make art that serves the poorest, that serves the broken in nature, and serves love. And it led me down a different path over time. I just wasn't quite brave enough at 26 to do it.
I hadn't heard that story before. Great. Yeah. So you chose this other path, and I know for a number of years you were kind of traveling, right? You went out to the Middle East and places. So tell us a bit about that path and that experience.
So I was hungry for adventure. Like, I hadn't been on a pilgrimage in my life, and I was really, really hungry for it. We'd be playing gigs, and I'd be like looking at the horizon thinking, what's the adventure over in Palestine or in the Sahara or wherever. So, Nizlopi and the record label and everything kind of burnt out. And I went on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. So I hitchhiked from England to Palestine. Sometimes I took buses and trains, but a lot of the time I was thumbing. And it was just so moving to be picked up by a family, for example, in Turkey and taken in. And they said, we'll take you where you want to go, but first of all, come and swim in this mountain river with us and pick hazelnuts. And then after we'd done that, they said, well, come back and have dinner with us, and then we'll take you, where you want to go next. And then after dinner, well, do you want to come to a wedding with us tonight? And just this, the media had been feeding us so many fear stories about the Middle East, like, oh, if you hitchhike in the Middle East, you're going to get kidnapped or whatever. But actually, I kind of got kidnapped with love, right? People would take me in and look after me like their own child. And it was really inspiring, and it inspired this new stage of writing songs under my own name outside of Nizlopi.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Do you want to take us up to, the next one you said you wanted to do was Your Heart Is in My Chest. Do you want to take us up to that one now? Or tell a little bit around that? It's that was quite a recent one, right? So I don't think you've got a song in here from that period, from the traveling period, but
okay, well, in the spirit of going with the flow,
up to you.
I'll play you this song that came in that village I was just telling you about. So this song arrived in that Turkish village after they'd taken me in and been so kind to me. So and I invite you all at home to stand up. You can dance, you can clap, and there's a part for you to sing. It's really easy. It's just when I sing around the world, then you go around the world, you sing it back to us. Okay, so actually we're in this key. Here we go. Can't believe what I've just learned. My inner feelings are all starting now to burn, and I'm less and less concerned. We're hoping all around the world. Your part goes around the world. I see you go, Pete. Around the world. My crying people, it's your turn. My crying people, we've a freedom to be earned. We've been working on it forever. All around the world, around the world. Let's go about this guy. Around the world. Woo! If you know what you've got to give, you've got to give it all. Woo! The future's in our hands, so don't you dare play small. Join the movement all around the world. Around the world, it goes around the world. I can hear you at home. Around the world, let's clap. You took me to your mother's house. Go for it, Pete. You can do it. You put the sweetest Turkish honey in my mouth. Yeah, we all love to kiss and hug. All around the world, around the world, hey, around the world, woo! If you know what you've got to give, you've got to give it all. hands, so don't you dare play small. Join the movement all around the world. All around the world, around the world,
And the world.
around the world. Woo!
Woo! Fantastic. Thanks for improvising. That's one of my favorites.
Thank you.
Oh, you need to adjust the gain again so we can hear you, the volume.
Okay, so does it need to go up, Rich?
Yeah,
Up. Okay.
that's the other one.
Thank you.
Just while you're talking, turn it down again when you're singing again. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
I mean, so much, and I love that one. You know, this kind of the future's in our hands. Don't play small. It's like, don't you dare. It's like, it's always a reminder to get out there and stop kind of being pathetic about the little things that don't really matter, you know, but stand up and get on with it. And yeah.
Yeah, well, I think our shared mentor, Alistair McIntosh, you know, he's coming from a spiritual perspective where, you know, one thing he said in the album launch party a couple weeks ago was,
Luke, can you move back a little bit? Thanks.
thank you. So that good? Okay. So
Yeah, that's good.
great. So Alistair said this phrase, keep your soul in hell and despair not. And for me, that sums up this thing that we actually have a huge capacity. Like we can deal with the fact that we can be with the fact that the world is burning, but we can still stay hopeful. We can still stay actively hopeful and engaged and do our part. That's me, Pete.
I thought you were gonna... Oh, it's just yeah, no, completely. And Alistair's like that. I mean, I was going to share the link. I think if I was going to share the link in the chat, I put his name in. It's just alistairmcintosh.com, I think. But really powerful. Like, yeah, how to stay with the pain. So don't avoid it, because it's exactly when we actually connect to it and allow it to be there. That's what fuels the fire, you know, to be able to do the work. In fact, when I was I looked up once the source of the word passion, and it's the same as the source of the word pain. And so there's something about, and it's not about getting lost in the pain, but it's about not denying it, allowing it to be there and feeling how that kind of fuels the passion and the fire to make a difference. You know, really, I think Alistair's so good at that.
Yeah. Of being real, and actually when we're real, there's so much we can do. Yeah. And then it's like, well, what is it that we feel called to do? Because we've all got different parts to do, right?
Yeah. So let's keep us going then. So you went on the trip, you came back. I know you moved to the west of Ireland, and now you're out in the US. And you've been writing a lot again, and just launched this new album. I think the kind of 3 songs we still hope to get in are all from the new album, right?
Wow. Yeah. So I fell in love with an American in 2012, and I moved here to be with her in 2016. And there's something strange about art and life, is that often when life is going really well and there's lots happening, it's hard to make time to write. Because it's like, well, I've got to go and do this performance or this, you know, meeting or whatever. But moving here and not really knowing anyone but my wife, and not having any work opportunities really. I didn't have a visa at first. You know, I had to get my green card. Really, there was just space to think and write. So I would get up at 5 a.m. and go and sit by a lake and just write. And then this album has come out of that. Something interesting about solitude is that it allows you to hear the songs So yeah, this album is called Ecstatic Bird in the Burning, and it's actually kind of like a nature piece. I wrote almost all the music outdoors, inspired by people like Mary Oliver, the great American nature poet, and really trying to listen to nature and to see what music I could make in dialogue with the sky and the lake and the birds and the bees, you know.
So you're going to share with us one of those?
Sure.
Now?
I'll play you. It's another interactive one. Why not? So this is called.
Don't forget to turn the gain down or the volume down when you want to start.
You're the best. So this is called Absolument, and it's about that indomitable spirit in us. So when I sing, "Are you ready to sing? Absolument" is your part. "Are you ready to swing? Absolument. Are you ready to fly? Absolument," etc. But then you've got to listen, because there's going to be one question and you're going to want to say, "No." So you're ready for everything, but you're not ready for this one thing. Okay.
I'll sing with it, but I'll mute myself because I know it doesn't sync well. So
that's it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Feel free to freak out. Okay. Here we go. Are you ready to sing? Absolument. Are you ready to swing? Absolument. Are you ready to fly? Absolument. Are you ready to die? Absolument. Are you ready to wait? Absolument. Are you ready to shake? Absolument. Are you ready to quake? Absolument. Are you ready to break? Winter it breaks, winter it shakes. Our bosoms ache, we run to the lake, wanting to lift, wanting to rise. All of us wanting to release the lies, take to the skies. Often a god wakes in the lake. Waste what makes sky live, for heaven's sake. Waste dreams, skip to the beams. Hear the ancestors scream. Are you ready to work? Absolument. On the land till it hurts. Absolument. Are you ready to dance? Absolument. Making sweet love in France. Absolument. Are you ready for love? To sing with God above. Absolument. Are you ready to swim? To drop your phone and begin. Absolument. To grow this family. Are you ready to grow these veggies? Are you ready to grow our spirit? Are you ready to grow this music? Passion is channeling, vision is managing. Coming together and making the choir all sing. Giving the kiss to the cheek of the high-low king. True love is beckoning, one love is beckoning. Give us a kiss and then give us the medicine of opening petals and teeth of a Bedouin. Justice is happening, justice is channeling. We get stirred to win. Are you ready to quit? No! Are you ready for this? Absolument. Are you ready to fly? Are you ready to die? Are you ready for love? To sing with God above. Are you ready to rise? Are you ready to thrive? We are the people who are yearning for some vision. Transform into butterflies and get on with some kissing, 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 kissing. Are you ready to sing? Are you ready to swing? Are you ready to fly? Are you ready to die? Are you ready to wake? Absolument. Are you ready to shake? Are you ready to break? And quake, and quake.
Absolument.
Absolument. And this is what was pumping behind me, a nice Shruti box here.
Oh.
I've got a foot pedal on it, so yeah, there you go.
Oh, cool. Don't forget to readjust the volume.
Thank you. Here we go.
Great. Beautiful. And still got the kind of, still got the interactivity embedded in it. So you're kind of waiting to get back to the people, right? So that they can actually, be part of it.
It was really fun in the album launch party 2 weeks ago. We had a Zoom room, so everyone was on screen. And I could see a friend in Dublin who was rocking out on the guitar with his kids dancing along, and then a friend in New York with his trombone out playing, and then there were like people in their living rooms dancing. So we're still doing it.
Cool. So you've inspired a lot of people in your career so far, and you now are also really kind of focused on helping people write their own songs. Now, one of the people we should probably mention that you inspired along the way was one Ed Sheeran, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit the story around Ed, and then how you've kind of also moved on to wanting to help other people in their kind of creative process.
Yeah, thanks. It's wild with Ed. He as a teenager, he would be at all of our gigs in the south of England, which, I guess would be like 30 gigs a year. And he would come, his dad would bring him. And then he kept writing to us asking to be our work experience kid, so an intern in other countries. But he came on the road with us for 2 weeks as part of his work experience from school. And he was just a redheaded firecracker who's ready to get lit on fire, and being part of that scene we were part of. And then Gary Dunn, who looped, Gary did the whole looping thing. We used to tour with him, so Ed learnt that from him. And yeah, somehow Ed has taken that very kind of British Isles scene, Ireland and Britain scene that we were part of, and he's taken it to a global level. And now he's doing that kind of folk hip hop thing that you can hear that's in what Nizlopi and I do, to the biggest stage, right? Which is kind of bewildering and great. Yeah.
And so that, with the inspiring other people, you've moved on, or I don't know if you've always done this or whether it's a recent thing, but really helping other people get the inspiration to write their own songs as well, right?
Right. So I got coached for the first time in my life 3 years ago, and it changed my life to get clear on what is my sense of purpose and values and vision. And in the first year of being coached, I wrote 100 songs, and I co-wrote with Ed. I gigged with him. I got national press and radio. So there was something about getting that kind of support that changed things. And I do help finish people's songs, sure. So yeah, I coach singer-songwriters now who want to make a positive difference in the world, and who want to work on their own growth and development as well. It's really meaningful work because something like music actually touches on the depth of our humanity. So it's very powerful and beautiful to be part of.
I noticed. Yes. I know when I've had singing coaching, it's very vulnerable, and it's like you can't get around it. You can't hide anywhere. And that the song, the kind of singing, the music coach or the singing coach, this is a woman in my case, she could see right through you, through your voice. and you're right to the essence, and you're like, whoa, okay. So it's, going, I can see how you can't really disconnect teaching somebody to make music, to perform music from really the essence of who they are, essentially.
Yeah, and actually, it's just like any process. We need community. We need to apprentice to people who have been to places. So yeah, so that's part of what I'm doing. And also we're hosting workshops. So I'll share that with your network. We're going to put a workshop up in the next month, the virtual songwriters workshop, a weekend long.
Oh, cool.
And I'm just really grateful to have been able to share this with you all. And I think just what's the harvest for me out of the journey so far is something about just how that kind of true voice, when I slow down and I hear it inside, it tells me what feels right and what doesn't. And so it feels right for me to be a songwriter and a coach and to be in community, and I wish you all luck finding your true north and your way home as well.
So as part of this, you also went back to creating video, right? I saw this like really cool video came out with the puppets and stuff. So tell us, why did you, obviously the JCB song, that video was a big hit. Very, very, people loved it. This is something different, but you wanted to go back and add the kind of video side to the music again?
Yeah, I guess I was kind of bored of my music being ignored. So yeah, with this album, we put out 3 singles, 3 videos. One of the singles was Absolument. And the first single was a song called Doing Nothing. And it's really just a very honest song about the way that I have like an internet addiction, and I watch like page fighting or look up ex-girlfriends on Facebook, and I'm not proud of it, but sometimes it happens. And it's an honest song about I guess the shadow side of things.
Okay, Rick, can you broadcast that one for us?
I'm not doing nothing at all, with my life. I'm watching cage fighting, comedy shorts all night. I'm doing nothing at all, that I'm called to. Not living the life I was born to, 'cause I'm scared of my gift. I'm not doing nothing at all, with my life. I'm looking up ex-girlfriends with Facebook shining bright, reading about Ed Sheeran, thinking I inspired him. Easier than taking the risk of being as bold as him. Doing nothing at all, that I'm called to. Not living the life I was born to, 'cause I'm scared of my gift. Oh, I'm never going to get anywhere. Oh, I'm never going to sing my song. Oh, I'll call out to my friends, and I'll start to work with them, and I'll get myself back on the road again. start giving our all to what we're called to. Living the life we were born to, sharing our gifts, yeah.
Great. So, do you want to say anything about that, about the video and things at all? Or?
Just that, there's just something funny about telling the truth. It connects with people, right? Like the JCB song is just the truth, and that song is just telling the truth too. And there's something quite funny about the truth as well. So that's where that came from.
Now, we were just chatting like whether to do another song, and you said, has anybody got any questions out there? So if anyone's got anything they want to put in the chat, like, and to have Luke respond to in the last 10 minutes or so, then feel free.
Comments or questions?
What's your favorite song? Shannon asks.
Thanks, Shannon. I've been really appreciating seeing all your comments, everyone in the chat. Such an affirmative group. So, well, you know, I'd like to hear in the chat what people's favorite comments are. My favorite song, do you know what comes to me is Maria. I just met a girl called Maria, and suddenly I found how wonderful a sound can be. I just think it's so beautiful when he's walking home and he's just in love, and it's kind of like sort of with the girl, and it's also with, like, say it softly, and it's like praying. Yeah, I think that's my favorite. What about other folk in the chat?
Oh, you got Peg, also one of her favorites. And Patty asks, where are you based? And when when can she see you live, and where?
Thank you. So I'm in Guilford, Vermont. So 2 hours north of Boston. Obviously this year, no one's really playing live. But I would invite you, please, to sign the mailing list. Thank you, Rich. You're an absolute star. Rich just put in the chat my links, and there's one there that says Luke Concannon free song. If you take 1 minute, please, to sign up there, then I can send you emails. I can let you know when I'm touring, about workshops, about stuff.
Do that, yeah. And Maura asks, I guess this harks back to, like, the story of your father pulling out his penny whistle. How do you feel when you hear a penny whistle today?
Thanks, Maura. So it's such a magical thing. I really love actually some really fast tin whistle stuff, like bands like Fluke or Can. Check them out. But when it's like, that really fast stuff, the breath in it, it's just so exciting. Yeah.
And Jen asks, do you feel you're more inspired by sadness and anger rather than happiness and contentment?
That's a good question for everyone in the chat. I want to hear your answers to that in the chat. My
inspired to write, she means, yeah.
Yeah. It's such a both and thing. I think if the heart breaks open either with sadness or with love, then that's where the real gems are. That's the real stuff.
So whatever the emotion is, it's essentially that heart opening from which it emerges.
Yeah, and I think literally, like, when it there's this lovely old Jewish story about a young rabbi comes to the head rabbi and says, why does it say in the Torah, rest the words on your heart? Why doesn't it say put them in your heart? And the head rabbi says, well, at the moment your heart isn't big enough for it, but one day it will break and then the words can fall in. And that's the stuff. That's when the real spirit comes out. In my experience with songs. So yeah. Is there anything you want to share, Pete, at this point in the conversation? How has it been to have this dialogue about music and community and
It's
spirit?
been great because, you know, at one level, it's not about the climate change or the economics and that kind of thing. But there's something in my, you know, if there's anything we need right now in the world, it's radical creativity, right? To be able to kind of create the forms, as Tim, my brother, would say, as we know each other, as we know in one of his raps, create the form to hold the storm, right? So what is it that's going to help us navigate through these times? And that really requires radical creativity. And that means us being able to, you know, and it's not like you describe with songs, or I describe with Humanity Rising, name, those ideas, they aren't things we cognitively think up, right? They come to us, they come through us because they're already there somewhere in the field. And it's not a head thing, it is a heart thing. So in a way, it's the same story. You know, if we were to ask, how do we come up with the solutions that are needed for us to transition through this time, then it's through radical creativity and through the heart, not trying to cognitively think them up, but connecting to the, you know, the essence of what is there and what is present, be it the pain, whatever it is, sitting with it, allowing the heart to open, and then noticing what comes in when we ask a question and not trying too hard, you know. So that's why it's beautiful for me. It's another angle in a way, but getting on the issues, but really a really core question of how do we unlock that creativity? How do we literally sing the song, you know, of our future in this burning world? I mean, couldn't be a bigger question.
Yeah, and what is our great song? What sort of song do we want to sing, and what does our great song sound like? And there's just something about singing your song and not caring what anyone thinks as well. Because what would it be like if, you know, like, is it Howard Thurman, you know, don't ask what the world needs of you, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world needs is people who've come alive. What would it be like if we collectively and individually follow that thread? If we save our own lives, does that mean we start saving each other too? I don't know. My hope is that if we throw a better party, it will change the culture.
That's a great way. That's maybe a great way to leave it. People have been asking, you know, some people are asking when are the next workshops and things. Well, the answer to that is sign up to the email list, and then, you know, Luke will let you know when the next things are coming up, either online and when he's touring and things. This is the new album that's out, Ecstatic Bird in the Burning. So do look it up. The latest to come through Luke and his great big heart that I think we've all experienced today. So I just want to say thanks very much, Luke, for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure, and you know, may you thrive and your music get out there into the world for all to hear and participate in, because that's very much what your music is about. It's participating in.
Thank you so much. And it's just been such a beautiful conversation, and I love this space you all have created. So blessed be, guys. Blessed be.
Thank you. Back to you, Jim. And girls.
Thank you, Peter. I want to just make one or two comments. First, Luke, I was struck by your story of your first #1 hit. You know, and it is a great mystery as to what makes a bestseller. You know, there's all kinds of books out there some written by the well-known and famous, some by the obscure and anonymous. And sometimes the universe favors the one and sometimes the other. And there's no way of knowing. I mean, I remember the interviews with the Beatles, even, they were as shell-shocked as everybody else. What the music that they were producing was somehow causing, mass hysteria in the global polity out there. And so I just wanted to acknowledge and thank you for that story, because it's an insight into the mysteries of how life takes our offerings and the direction in which they go. And sometimes it's to a mass audience with major effect, and other times it's for a couple of people with equally major effect. And actually, that's quite comforting, that all we are responsible for is the offering itself. And then what the universe does with it is not something over which we have very much control. So the fact that you've stayed in the trenches of your music and are as heartful and as passionate as you continue to be is really an inspiration to all of us, of the kind of spirit we need to embody. We talk about radical collaboration, but I think Peter, you're right that the radical collaboration needs to be around radical creativity. And so you've inspired us in that direction, Luke. So I really want to thank you for that, and hope that your new album hits the top of the pops.
Well, thank you so much, guys. And I really appreciate being here with you all. And I wish you the greatest of courage and renewal with this project, and may it flow on powerfully into the world.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So just a note about tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be returning to the theme of public health, which is being convened by the Nordic Health Alliance and also the European Health Futures Institute as part of a 5-series exploration of the kind of health we need to be thinking about as we move through the pandemic. As we've noted, the mental health of all of us has been seriously challenged by the pandemic all over the world. And so we're going into that kind of softer aspect of the pandemic. People focus on COVID as the illness, and there's much less attention being spent on the psychological and emotional effects on all of us, independent of whether we actually come down with COVID or not. So that's going to be the session tomorrow, the second out of 5 sessions on public mental health around the world. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you again, same time, same station, 5:00 p.m. Central European Time here on Zoom.
Jim.
And once again, Luke, you were fascinating and inspirational, and I'm ending the session with joy in my heart. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Jim, can you hear me?
Yes.
We've got a call from somebody saying, go out with a song. So as everybody's leaving, but that's I don't know if Luke wants to, but
oh yeah, well let's do that. Let's go out with a song. Great idea, Luke. You're on.
Okay.
If you want to, mate.
Okay, so
Don't forget to turn the volume down a bit.
thank you. So this is about meeting my wife. Your heart is in my chest. Your heart is in my chest.
I'm crossing the blue sound to bow myself down. Your eyes in my chest. And this girl is a lantern on the aisle, through the wind, through the rain. Now I smile. You gave me a wildfire inside. On the train, leaving you through the dark, journaling the big bang in my heart, expanding at the speed of the stars. Little bells are ringing and I'm tight-throated singing your raiment, violet hue, yeah. Your heart is in my chest. Your heart is in my chest. I'm crossing the blue sound to bow myself down. Your eyes in my chest. Have you got that chorus now?
Yeah, mate, got it.
You'll be in on the chorus. I would love to see you singing with us too, Jim. A hungry heart, a spinning mind, inspired bones kissed you like wanderer coming home. Sunlit bay with gulls calling out. There's a new being dreaming and my body's started healing. Is it time to walk to you? Yeah, your heart is in my chest. I can hear you at home, guys. Your heart is in my chest. You can clap with me too, brothers and sisters. I'm crossing the blue sound to bow myself down. Your eyes in my chest. Woo! Heavy packs we climb this mountain. Cold wet feet on the soft ground, shining like the ocean inside. Darkness and rainfall now, but paint sand in the morning. The sun is pouring down. We're hiking down this green road. Two of the elements, two of the relevant elements in the harmonic resonance. You are feeding me medicine that I drink without reticence, and the song is in evidence. The past that is strengthening, elegance beckoning. I'm crossing the blue sound to bow. Your eyes in my chest. Woo!
Woo! Lots of
Well, thank
applause
you and
for
good night.
everybody.
Thank you, pals. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Luke.
Bless
Thank you, Peter. Thank
Bye,
you, everyone.
everybody.
We'll see you again tomorrow here on Humanity Rising.
Go
Bye
well.
for now.
Bye.